Hey guys, this is Philip Fortenberry with Fatherhood Revolution. And I want you to think about that question. Can there be more than one truth to a situation? Well, let me tell you a story and so that you'll understand what I mean. The day that my father left us, he had a meeting and we were all at the dining room table. He told us that he was leaving and he gave us all of his excuses as to why. And I think that anytime a child is faced with the impending separation of his parents, he has one question on his mind. And I asked my dad that question that day, and the question was, who will we go with? My father looked at me square in the eye and said these words, "Son, I want you to stay with your mother." And while those were the exact words that came out of his mouth that day, what the 13-year-old boy heard that day was, "Son, I don't want you." And I buried my face in the crook of my arm on our dining room table and I wept. You see, what I had received was, my dad doesn't want me, and it crushed me. And so my father could have stood up and said, had I even said anything, I didn't say a thing, I just began to cry. My father's response to that was to walk out the door. My brother said to him, "Why, Dad, why?" And he coldly explained one more time how unhappy he was, and with that he walked out the door. And again, my dad could have said, I never said that I didn't want you. And that would be true. But my truth was what I'd heard. You see, it's not just the words that we speak, but it's how our children receive them. And sometimes we can be wrong, even with how we're right. And we don't take into account how our kid will receive that. And so I just want you to think about that. Have you been wrong with how your child received what your child received? A foolish thing to do would be to stand up and defend yourself when you've hurt your kid. The wise thing to do at that point in time is to apologize and say, "Father, forgive me." Or, I'm sorry, not just Father. Well, that'd be good too. "Father, forgive me." But what you really need to do is apologize to your child and ensure that what they understood and what they received was not what you intended, okay? And I mean, you need to fall over yourself apologizing. Listen, it's about relationship. If you're going to make your life with your child about being right, when that child gets out the door, you better kiss them goodbye because they're not going to want to be around you. It's not so much about being right. It's about the relationship. Yes, there's got to be accountability, but that accountability goes two ways. And when I have hurt my child, the right thing for me to do is take accountability regardless of what I meant and apologize and make it clear to them it had nothing to do with the way they received it, and apologize for how you said it or even what you said. So I just want you to think about that. You need to listen. You need to look. If your child begins to pull back and separate from you, he or she is sending you a loud signal that they're feeling rejected by you. And you need to find out why. And it might have been what you said. It might have been how you said it, okay? But the words, "I'm sorry," "I love you," and "please forgive me," those three things cover a multitude of mistakes, and all parents make them. So this is Philip Fortenberry with Fatherhood Revolution, about to sign off. And again, when you go on your adventures, don't forget the kid next door who doesn't have a father. He needs you, and I used to be that kid.